everybody. Longhorns taking on the the Georgia Bulldogs. Gerry Hamilton, let's go. Let's see what happens today. You're rocking the number ones. I assume that's for the number one ranked recruiting class. It also could be for the number one ranked Longhorn team in the SEC trying to win the SEC title in moments from now. Gerry Hamilton, Bobby Burton here with you on Texas football. A little pregame party here. CJ Vogel will be joining us live in just a few minutes from inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We've got a couple of you guys already checking into this chat from inside the stadium as well. Michael Ortiz, I'm glad you're there at Mercedes-Benz to root on the Longhorns. Also, it is time, and this is a good one. Lori, Texas gal, Icy Whites, visitor and villains. That is absolutely true. Texas elected to wear the all whites today, Gerry, instead of the home orange. Let's see what happens here today in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Only the second time the Longhorns have ever played a football game in the state of Georgia. Never been to the Peach Bowl before, Gerry. Only played the University of Georgia, and they did that in Atlanta, actually, on Georgia Tech's campus back in 1957. A lot of firsts being broken here today, hopefully, and one more will be the University of Texas's first conference championship in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's this is actually, I think, the official welcome to the SEC for Texas. I mean, this is when they've arrived as playing for the SEC championship. Win or lose today, they got here in their first attempt. What other SEC team in the history did in their first attempt? I guess when the conference was formed, then maybe somebody did. But in modern history, who did in their first attempt? I mean, it's probably a really short list of one now or maybe two. But this is when you've arrived. I mean, because just think about it this way. A&M's been in the conference 12 years. They haven't been one time. So Texas has arrived in the SEC. And I'm excited because I think this is a type of rivalry that's kind of building right now through on the field and recruiting. That's going to be really cool. Now, the game will be in Athens next year. Will continue the rivalry, and then it'll go away. It won't in recruiting, but it'll go away on the field for a couple of years. But I just think the energy in this stadium today is going to be off the charts.
Let's see what happens. There's some questions whether or not Texas fans traveled well. They're talking about that. I thought I was in Atlanta this week. Look, I'm home now. It is a 3.5-hour drive, roughly 3-hour, 15-minute drive from Atlanta to where I live. So I'm home, ready to watch this. We got everything ready to go here. CJ Vogel will be checking in with us here momentarily. We do have some news and notes to pass along for you. CJ was down on the field pregame. We believe it's going to be Trevor Gooseby that goes at left tackle for the Longhorns in today's game over Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks looking like he was not extremely mobile in pregame warmups, heavily bandaged and taped up on that left foot, the left ankle. Additionally, CJ said that Quinn Ewers was out working around. While he had a brace on his knees, he did not, and I'll say this, he did not have an ankle splint on, which was interesting because we had thought.
Yeah, I think that's what happened last week too, though, Bobby. I think when they came out in shorts and shirts, just throwing it around, he didn't have that mobility brace splint on. I think they put that on before the game, before they came out for warm-up. So let's see if that holds, because I think that's the same as it was last week.
Makes total sense there. That makes total sense. Look, Arizona State taking care of Iowa State in a bad way. Matt Campbell, not a good look for you, bud. Your 3 stars played like 2 stars today.
3 turnovers in a row. 3 turnovers in a row on their end of the field.
And it took them totally out of the game. They were down by 2 scores, though, going into the third quarter, going into halftime. So they were already on the outs, and then Arizona State just laid it on them. Congrats to you, Gerry. You called that fairly early. You said, hey, Arizona State's starting to come alive. The question we have now is, what will that mean for the playoff committee, who currently has Arizona State behind I mean, everybody has Arizona State in the Big 12 ranked out of the top 4 in the playoff run. What happens if Clemson wins today? Does the Big 12 get the 4 seed and the ACC get the 5th?
Yeah, I would think that's the case. I mean, look, I would think in that scenario, Boise State's 3, Arizona State's 4, and ACC champ Clemson's 5. I mean, that I could see that scenario playing out, and then that 5-12 or that 2 seed that 5-12 game is a little different, man. I mean, so it'll be interesting to see. That's the other thing is, if Texas were to lose today, did they bump to the 6, or does Clemson bump to the 6 as a conference champ? I mean, that's what's going to be interesting, and how all that plays out today. So we shall see what happens. But Arizona State, that's a really good turnaround story. Kenny Dillingham, an Arizona State grad, went 3-9 last year, and is now going to be 11-2 and in the playoffs. I don't care what conference you played in. That's unbelievable turnaround.
Yeah, absolutely. They've done a great job. Now Texas getting ready to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. They are yet to take the field. I am being told they were out in warm-ups. CJ is there. He's texting me saying he's going to jump on here as soon as they take the field in the next 4 to 5 minutes in a more thorough way. We'll see what exactly that means. But long story short, Longhorns attempting to really get out there and win this first ever SEC championship. Gerry, before we do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Texas offense, about this against this Georgia defense. Texas has not been a prolific scoring team the second half of this season, but they've been a very ball control team.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas only scoring, I guess they scored 31 against Kentucky, but 20 against Arkansas, 17 against A&M, only 27 against Vanderbilt. Not really laying it on. They put it on Florida, but it's been a more ball control oriented offense right now. And that has, frankly, Gerry, helped the Texas defense. And it is a different style of offense than Georgia saw from Texas the first time out.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think this is going to be a fascinating game, really, to see how Sark attacks the Georgia linebackers. That's what's going to be interesting to me about this game as far as the chess match goes. But look, I've said this before about Quinn. This is very rarely does a player get a chance at redemption against the same team in the same college season. It happens in the NFL, but in the college season, it doesn't happen very often. And so Quinn gets a chance because Greg McElroy said on ESPN earlier in the week, and I agree, that was Quinn's down point or worst game as a Texas quarterback. Well, he gets a chance at redemption today. So he's going to be internally really motivated. This offensive line is going to be motivated. And now it comes down to Georgia's a healthier defense than they were when they rolled to Austin. Smile Mondon didn't play in that game. He's their best coverage linebacker and a second, third round NFL draft pick type. Georgia's going to be at full strength today defensively, and maybe has fixed some secondary issues. So Texas isn't seeing the same Georgia defense either. But I'm very interested to see what Sark does. Does he break tendency early in this game? Because he always passes to set up the run a high percentage at a time. Does he break tendency in this game? And Trevor Gooseby, how's Georgia going to attack Trevor Gooseby today is my question. Will they play Jalen Walker, move him off to the right side and go up against Trevor Gooseby more so because last time it was Mykel Williams and then Jalen Walker went from side to side? Does Jalen Walker go at Trevor Gooseby early and test the young guy, say, all right, we know you're talented. We know you look good on tape against A&M. This is a big pressure situation. How are you going to respond? And I think Trevor Gooseby is going to be a really good player. How he responds today against a Jalen Walker, we'll have to see. But it's going to be interesting to see how Georgia tests him today. But it all starts with run. Both of these teams, Bobby, have to establish a run. Whoever establishes the run has a huge advantage in this game for me.
I tell you what, Gerry, let's go down now to the stadium floor, and that is CJ Vogel checking in. CJ, you saw Kelvin Banks in pregame warmups. What's going on with the young man, and does it look like it's going to be Trevor Gooseby that goes for the Longhorns?
I tell you, I'm sorry, it's a little loud in here. They got the speakers going, but I would be surprised if it's not Trevor Gooseby, having watched Kelvin Banks go through his early pregame warmups. He has a heavily braced left ankle. It did not look like he was moving well. And you know how you watch a horse run and you know you have like a back leg or a front leg that's bothering the horse. They always try to stretch it out more than they need to. That's kind of what he was doing. It didn't look comfortable. He looked very ginger in all of his movements.
Hey, have you seen Travis Etienne on the field for Georgia?
So I went over to the Georgia side while they were doing their routes on air. I did not see a number one running around, but I don't believe he's officially ruled out. I did not see him. I made sure to keep an eye out for the number one jersey in black.
CJ, you're looking right now at the field of the Georgia Dome. We appreciate you doing this for us. Jaden Blue, you had mentioned him being a little dinged up after the A&M game. He was not listed on the injury report. Is he out there working out for the Longhorns?
He came out the stretch, did not stay very long on the field. Of course, I should mention Kelvin Banks, also an early player back to the locker room. Jaden Blue, very much the same. You saw Trey Wisner, Ryan Niblett, Jarrett Gibson. They were on the field a little bit longer for pregame warmups. Of course, Texas still about to take the field for their extended warmups and full pads. This was just lay of the land, come out, see the scenery, and get loose just a little bit. The full warmups coming in the next 5 to 10 minutes.
I tell you what, you're looking at the updated roster right now, and it shows that Trevor Etienne likely to play for Georgia. Branson Robinson and Christian Miller are both game-time decisions. That's another running back that the Bulldogs have had out. Miller, a big defensive lineman. It also mentions Kelvin Banks as a game-time decision for the Longhorns. Gerry?
Christian Miller's key. He is one of their top 2 run defenders on the interior, future mid-round, second, third round type NFL draft pick. If he can't go today, that takes a key rotational player and one of the top 2 run defenders, I think, away from Georgia. He may not be the over-the-ball guy, but he's an athletic run defender. So that would be somewhat significant in this game for Georgia. I'm not saying it would be the same significance as if an All-American left tackle's out for Texas, but Christian Miller's a really good player against the run.
CJ, talking to you here, a couple other questions for you. Your thoughts on this game, being around the team a little bit as they got out there. They look fresh. They look ready to go.
They sure do. And I was following Jahdae Barron around, and I did it against the Texas A&M game. Just see what Jahdae does, and he's as locked in as you'll find. He walks around, he kind of mutters to himself. He's got his songs playing, but he gets in his stance and he works. And there's a lot of younger defensive backs that I think trailed them out of the locker room, noticed that, said, okay, this is the path we have to go as well. That's always something I've noticed the last 2 weeks. And a game like this, you need it.
Yeah, you absolutely do. They're going to have senior leadership and guys come up big. Quinn Ewers, how'd he look on the sideline working out as well, CJ?
He looked good. He didn't have an ankle brace on early on. That might be something he adds. Hold on. Might be something that he adds later for the game itself. But nothing taped up, no splint, no brace on the ankle so far. Looked healthy, was out there kind of joking and grabbing with some of the quarterbacks. And then whenever it got time to work, he was ready to go.
All right, CJ, we'll see you later. Thank you for checking in with us, buddy. You have a good one, man. That's CJ Vogel for Texas Football live from the floor of the Georgia Dome prior to the game here, Gerry. Gerry, your thoughts on what CJ had to say about all of those injuries and about the report that came out just now showing Trevor Etienne available for Georgia.
Yeah, I think if you can go, if you have a chance to go, you're really going to play in this game. And look, for Georgia, Etienne, I mean, he's got it. They need him to kind of be a 1-2 with Nate Frazier. You don't want Nate Frazier taking 25, 30 touches in this game. They got to have somebody else in there just to give him just 6, 7 carries. It may not be a full load, but you have, it's different. He's got the rib contusion, a little different than a high ankle sprain, though, right? I mean, you got either 13 or 20 days off after this game. You would think Etienne, unless will be fine. Kelvin Banks, though, if you're Texas, you don't want to do anything to make that left ankle worse for your All-American left tackle. You want him to be as close to 100% in the playoffs as possible. So, and with Trevor Gooseby playing well last week, that gives Sark and Flood a different mindset, I think, going into this game. Had Gooseby gone in and really struggled, then they may have a different mindset this week. But Gooseby performed extremely well against A&M. Now, that's not Jalen Walker off the edge or even Michael Williams, but it's really good players. It's future draft picks. But I look at Quinn. I don't think Quinn wore the ankle kind of brace. I don't want to call it a brace. He didn't have that on at the beginning of the A&M game when they came out and it was just shorts and shirts throwing, because I was like, man, he did not look good moving. Then he came out with what looked like an air splint on, the old ankle plastic with the blue splint type of thing on. We came to find out it was kind of one of the new splint ankle braces that has been made for athletes now. But he wasn't wearing that in like at A&M in the same instance where he just came out in shorts and shirts and was throwing it around. So I suspect he'll be back on that when this team comes back out for warmups. And look, it's extreme motivation game. This is what's going to make this game, I think, different. You just watch Iowa State and Arizona State. It's a good conference championship game. Two good teams, but this is different because these two teams played. Georgia bullied bullied Texas in Austin. Texas has that motivation for them. Quinn has the motivation of a chance at redemption. Texas has all this motivation going into this game. Win the SEC, take the SEC title from Georgia, the team that's kind of had the most recent dynasty. Then you have Georgia over here. And Kirby's been saying, look, this game last year cost us everything. And if we win this, we get a bye. And we're in the driver's seat, and the message he'll give his team. So there's going to be a lot of emotion in this game. And sometimes the team that's over emotional and makes a couple of dumb penalties, post snap, penalties that either kill a drive, take you out of field goal range, things like that are the difference in this game. So it's an emotional game. It's going to be an extremely emotional game, but you also have to control your emotions and not let it hurt your team.
I look at it, Gerry, and you're right. It has to be one of those where you can manage all of it that goes around this game, and you'll see it. Hey, let's get to the chat line. A couple of questions here that I think are really good. This one is kind of a recruiting one almost to me, and something that I wanted to bring up. Rudy started, do you think we'll ever see a Cinderella story in college football, or is the talent gap too much? We're currently seeing one right now in Phoenix. Arizona, or actually they're in Dallas, I guess, right now. Arizona State was picked to be last in the Big 12 by the media. They're getting ready to be in the college football playoff and go 11-2 in the conference as well as the postseason now with this win over Iowa State. So, Rudy, yeah, I still think we'll see them. We may not see as many. Here's another question, Gerry. This is more for you. Why did all the scouts miss on Scatabo and Ginty? I know Ginty was actually fairly decently recruited. That's how he ended up at Boise versus some other Big 12 level schools. But he certainly wasn't considered the best running back in the country. Scatabo, a little bit different category. I think he started at Sac State in Sacramento, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to turn that question around. Why did all the colleges miss? I mean, that they're the ones that have them on campus and get to test them out in person. But Scatabo was never going to be a highly recruited player, though. He was 5'11", 205-pound linebacker / running back that ran 4.85 coming out of high school. That guy's never going to be recruited highly. Now, and so he goes to Sac State, switches because a lot of people are thinking he was going to be a linebacker at a, FCS or lower D1 school, right? But then he goes and plays running back full-time at Sac State. He's gotten a little faster. Maybe he'll run 4.65, 4.7 at the NFL Combine or whatever, but his contact balance is off the charts good. His physicality is off the charts good. His leg drive is otherworldly on the college level, and he has a big old heart, man, and he runs like it matters. And so JT, I mean, look, that guy was up in Frisco, and the thing I always say is, in our business, it's always like, hey, how'd the people that rank these guys miss on these players? How'd the colleges miss on them?
Yep. Hey, we've got another update from CJ coming in right now. He says that Jaden Blue is on the field full dressed. Yeah. So not that that's a huge surprise given the update that Steve Sarkisian gave the media about an hour ago on the injury report that he gave the media. Also, Trevor Etienne, the running back for Georgia, expected to go. We're also being asked again, for those that are just coming in, Whitney Gaddison asking about Kelvin Banks. He did not look good in warmups. We expect Trevor Gooseby to be the starting left tackle for this game. I think it's doubtful that Banks goes, even though Sark did list him as a game time decision. So that should get you up to date. Quinn Ewers was on the field earlier without a splint on his left ankle. We do not know what he's out there doing it yet or not as well. A lot of stuff going on. This one coming in from Scott Surgeon. Got my mayo ready. Boys, you go for it. Scott, Juan Garza, Bobby, you got home quick. As Georgia fans know, I sometimes have a heavy foot when it comes to driving. So, yes, those things are possible as well here with Gerry Hamilton. Gerry, we looked at the offensive numbers against the Georgia defense. Now let's take a look at the Texas defense against that Georgia offense.
Yeah, you know what's kind of amazing in a way when you look – we talked about the Texas defense. We'll get to maybe the matchups in a second. But the crazy thing about the Georgia offense when you look at it, Bobby, is Georgia averages 294 passing yards per game and leads the nation in drops at wide receiver. That's kind of a crazy stat. So rush yards is not where Georgia thought they'd be, the Georgia fan base. I mean, that was an offensive line coming into the season. Look, I can tell you this. In Athens, on that staff, they thought they were going to have a dominant offensive line in the run game this year, and that has not happened. So that has been a big disappointment for Georgia because they don't want to be in pass shell 70% of the time. They want Carson Beck to have more help than that. But that's where it's been at this season for them. And that's one of the big things I'm going to look at, Bobby, with this game, the Georgia offense, Texas defense, is Georgia dropped, I believe, 6 passes in the first game, had 3 or 4 more on third downs. Georgia had more receivers open against Texas than any other team I've seen Texas play this season. So I think that's a little motivation for the secondary playing these guys second time around. Now, Arian Smith is going to run by anybody. I don't care. That dude's fast, like 10-3 fast. And Anthony Evans has some long speed to him. But these guys have been more catch and run receivers is what they are. And catch and run receivers aren't very good when they don't catch the ball effectively. Dylan Bell has been their most consistent guy. But I think Georgia is going to attack with the tight ends today against Texas. I think you're going to see them try to attack because they have 3 tight ends that are all really good players. Couple of guys that'll be draft picks on some level. I think they're going to attack with the tight ends today against Texas. And the Texas defense, I'm interested to see, does PK break tendency at all? Does he blitz a little bit more early in this game to try to get after Carson Beck and try to force some mistakes? Because he's mistake prone if you can get to him.
Well, one of the things you said and we talked about early is this is the only team that got up on Texas big early. Longhorns were down 23-0. It made the Texas offense entirely one-dimensional in the second half. Not something that really helped Quinn Ewers or slow down that Georgia pass rush. So it's imperative for this Texas defense to get off to a strong start. I do look for PK and Johnny Nansen, Scotty Hazelton, those guys on the defensive side of the ball to make some different defensive calls early to perhaps get Carson Beck to be the one that has to come back, that has to play from behind. Also, I think that while Texas has found its own running game late this season, Georgia has found a greater reliance on its own running game that Texas is going to have to try to stop. Georgia may be the only team, I think, in of the entire season, really, that has found a true running game at times against Texas, partially because of Trevor Etienne. The running back for Georgia is so good and so talented, Gerry, no doubt about that. All right, we're going to get back to it in a second. I want to say thank you to our sponsor of this live stream. That is Hargrove Roofing. Thank you very much to our friends over at Hargrove with offices all over Louisiana, Arkansas, and, of course, the great state of Texas, including Austin. Hargrove Roofing will take care of all your roofing needs, plus they're Longhorn friendly with partners like our kicker, Bert Auburn, and former defensive tackle, Stevie Lee, who appears on our Winning Drive show every Monday. They are the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there. Call them today for a free roof inspection. Hargrove Roofing, know who's on your roof. Gerry, summarize the situation, if you would, for all of the injuries in this game and what we know and how they came out based on what CJ has told us there from the floor of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Start with Georgia. Trevor Etienne's out in full pads. He's going to give it a go. He's off the injury report. They got to have him give Nate Frazier some relief in this game, I believe. And Etienne is their best back when he's healthy. Where will he be today? He's not going to be 100%, but can he help out with Nate Frazier? So they have a little bit of a two-headed monster there with their two most talented backs. Christian Miller, I don't know yet. He's game time decision. That would be a big loss for Georgia because he's one of their top two most athletic run defenders, disruptive guys. So that would hurt their rotation a little bit. But look, it's your last game that you're going to play for either 13 or 20 days. So it's 2 weeks off essentially after this game. So guys are going to play more snaps. Your best players are going to play more snaps today and not be as worried about the legs. But that's a good question, though, also, is who's going to have legs late in this game. I think that's going to be interesting to see. On the Texas side, Kelvin Banks is game time decision, did not look good in warm-ups per CJ and somebody else that's in the building, by the way. We expect to see a lot of Trevor Gooseby today. Quinn Ewers didn't have his ankle brace, splint on when he came out to throw in shorts and shorts and shirt, but I don't think he did against A&M last week either. He put that on after the fact. Jaden Blue, fully dressed out, good to go. Look, all the guys that can go, you're really going to have to be hurt to be held out, and I think Kelvin Banks is that ankles is pretty bad if he doesn't play today. They got to get it healthy for the playoffs. That's part of the decision, Bobby.
Yeah, I visited with Mike Gooseby last night at the Texas X's event in Atlanta, the dad of Trevor Gooseby. He was very proud of his son for how he played last week and should be. He actually got a couple slaps on the back from some Texas X's about it, and he is now officially, by the way, Gerry, known as Trevor's dad.
Update, Banks in street clothes. He can't go.
Okay, so that means Trevor Gooseby will be the starting left tackle for the Texas Longhorns. Big news there, Gerry, for Texas, trying to get the first round bye and win its first ever SEC championship in its first year in the conference. All right, we got other things. I was talking about Mike Gooseby last night at the Texas Exit event. One of the things I would say about this, Gerry, and that's important for people to recognize and know, he's also got another son that is a star basketball player.
Yes.
He's actually going to be on campus on Sunday for the Texas UConn game. Yeah. He is also the younger Gooseby brother out of Melissa, and not unlike Trevor, is also being recruited by UConn. He's that good a basketball player. So a lot of interesting things there. It is, guys, one of those games where we see today whether or not the Texas Longhorns are ready to be the new guard of the SEC. I really believe that, Gerry. They win this game, they're the ones with the target on their back in the SEC from here on.
No doubt.
I think they just pulled in the number one recruiting class over Alabama, Georgia, and Auburn. Those three teams have been, or at least Alabama and Georgia, have been running recruiting in the SEC for more than a decade, right?
Yeah.
Texas just overtook them in recruiting this week. Now what happens on a football field? Let's see where the Longhorns go.
All right, let's see. I mean, it's here about 30 minutes from kickoff. Huge opportunity. Look at in front of Texas. And again, like you said, Bobby, we said it this morning, you think Texas has had an X on their back before? If they win this game today, you ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, you come into the SEC and win it in year one, that's another level of hate and big X on your back. And I think Texas relishes that. And I think we're going to see a very, very physical game today. I kind of wonder, the one thing I wonder is if it's going to be more high scoring than any of us think, because these teams have played each other and they're now in game 13 of the season.
Yep, it's very possible. I also wonder if Sark's going to try more things. I mean, is Sark going to try the big tight end? He's going to try the jumbo tight end now that he knows that Banks can't go, right? He didn't use it against Georgia the first go round. Does he go to Arch Manning more frequently in this game in the quarterback run game, given how much the quarterback run game hurt Georgia against Georgia Tech and impacted that defense that way? I think there's a lot of ifs in this game, and we're going to try to see what exactly happens. But Longhorns and Georgia Bulldogs getting ready to tussle.
Yeah, and look, somebody asked in the chat, and here's the question we don't want to have to get to at some point today. Who's Trevor Gooseby's backup if he goes down? Woo! Man, we don't want to get into that conversation. I don't know if that would be Brandon Baker if they'd flip Cam Williams to the left side because he worked out at left side, one practice a day in his first 2 years at Texas, and bring in Brandon Baker on the right side. Let's hope we don't have to go down that path. I'm not sure there's a clear answer to that right now.
Hey, this one from Hoosier Horns. Crazy, there is a newcomer in every conference championship game. Very true, Hoosier Horns. Let's hope we continue the trend and take it home. Arizona State defeating Iowa State, obviously. That's one. Texas in the SEC championship. Oregon in the Big Ten. SMU in the ACC. Very accurate statement. Let's see exactly what this all means. On the other hand, great coverage all year, guys. If the Horns pick up a killer punter in the portal and school starts January 14th, could the punter be on the roster for the playoffs?
Ooh.
Not if he played for another team this year.
Right.
So theoretically, if he was a red shirt and did not play for another team, the answer is yes. But he can't play for the same team or a different team in the same calendar year, same season. I would say this, Gerry. Who was the second team all Big 12 punter just went in the portal, by the way? Was he from Utah, I think?
Yes. Yeah.
Keep an eye on it.
Pro kick Australia guy. Yep.
Yeah. Stanley Spadowski, hook up from Gainesville, Florida at my daughter's fourth birthday party. You guys are more valuable than you know. YouTube TV is up next. LFG. Thanks, Stanley, and happy birthday to your daughter. And thanks for being an OTF viewer, and thanks for being a Longhorn fan more than anything. Gerry, final thoughts before we get going. I know you got to watch with us coming in the next 5 to 10 minutes with Aaron Hogan hosting. You, Rod Babers, Coach Shipley, all involved. Make sure you stay tuned after that for the post game with myself, Rod Babers, and Brian Robes.
No turnovers on Texas side of the field. I've thought about what's my number one thing. No turnovers in your own side of the field. Make Georgia earn every score they get in this game. That's a big one for me. And because Georgia's the same. I mean, you don't want to give up short fields in this game. Because this game's going to be like an NCAA tournament game to me. While it's kind of a Georgia home game, I bet it's 70-30 in the stands, maybe 75-25. But momentum is so big in these games. And you do not want to give up momentum here. You got to make teams earn their momentum in games like this.
Road Quinn, according to Isaac Darden. I tell you what, you mentioned no turnovers. The real key to me is twofold. Establishing some sort of run game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think last time, what did Texas have 30-something yards in rushing against Georgia? Establish some sort of run game to slow down that Georgia pass rush. And then Quinn, we need good Quinn today. No doubt about it. We need road Quinn today. Yeah. How about that? All right, Gerry, that's going to do it. Thank you also to our producer, Matt Hutchison, to our sponsor, Hargrove Roofing. For Gerry Hamilton, I'm Bobby Burton. Let's go, Horns. We got to get it. 12-1 SEC champs after this. Let's do it. Hook 'em.